Hi everyone, how are you? I hope that you are all doing well. Now it's time for our grammar lesson this week. What we're going to cover in this lecture, we will identify the usage of simple past tense, we will form the verbs in simple past tense correctly, and we will differentiate between regular and irregular verbs. Our resources for this lesson is Worksheet 3 Semester 2. So you're going to find the exercises for this lesson in Worksheet 3 Semester 2. So our table of contents this time is first we're going to start with the usage and meaning of simple past tense. Then we're going to form the verbs in the affirmative. Then we're going to learn how to form them in the negative. Then at the end we're going to learn how we'll form the verbs in the interrogative. First of all, let's start with the usage. When do we use the simple past tense? We use the simple past tense to express the idea that an action started and finished at a specific time in the past. Let me ask you a question. What did you do yesterday afternoon? Okay, my answer is, yesterday afternoon I went to my grandparents' house. So I did this action in the past but at a specific time. So the action happened and already finished at a specific time in the past. Where did you travel last summer? Last summer I traveled to Turkey, for example. So you see, let's have some examples of verbs in the past, like played, danced, helped, ran, ate, dreamed, cleaned, studied, went, came. Okay, in order to show that the action is in the past, I have to use some time words or time expressions. So what are some of these time expressions used in the past tense or used to show that the action happened in the past? In 1980, for example. In 2001. Last month. Last week. Ago, I can say 2 days ago, 2 years ago, 3 days ago, 3 weeks ago, 2 semesters ago. Yesterday. Last week. Last year. So you see, I have plenty of time expressions to show that the action happened and finished in the past. Examples. Let's have some examples on actions that happened in the past. I saw Maria yesterday. Yesterday is the time word that shows me it happened in the past. Okay? And the action here, saw. So I saw Maria. In the present, we say I see, but in the past, since it happened in the past, so I say I saw. Last Friday, the students took their spelling and vocabulary tests. So last Friday is the time word that shows me the action happened in the past. The students took. The action verb here is took. So these actions are over and finished in the past. Okay, now we move to the second point in our lecture. How do we form the simple past tense? How? First of all, English has 2 types of verbs in the past tense. So you have to know that we have 2 types of verbs. The regular verbs and irregular verbs. What do we mean by regular verbs? The regular verbs, we form the past tense for the regular verbs by adding ed to the end of the verb. So the regular verbs are the verbs that follow the rule that says you have to add ed to the end of the verb. But the irregular verbs, since they are irregular, they are naughty, they do not like to follow the rule. So they do not follow the rule, we do not add ed to them. So sometimes they change completely or they stay the same. Some irregular verbs change completely while others don't change at all when forming the simple past tense. Regular verbs are verbs that end with ed. Let's have some examples about the regular verbs. For example, okay, when the verb is in its base form, we mean that we do not add anything to it. So it's as it is found in its root form. So it's in the base form, like walk. Walk is a regular verb. So what must I do? I must add ed to it. Walked. Walked. So I just add ed. Study is a regular verb, so it follows the rule. I have to add ed. It becomes studied. You might say here, teacher, you added I. Yes, I added I. Why? I removed the Y and added I because there is a certain thing here I have to pay attention to it, and I'm going to show it to you in the next slide. Cry, cried. Also, it's a regular verb. Live, lived. Also, it's a regular verb. And notice that I didn't add two E's. No, I just add one E. Now, based on what I must add the ed to the verbs, let's see. Add ed or just d if the root form already ends in an e or a consonant letter. So if the verb already ends with a consonant letter, then I just add ed. But if it ends with e, then I drop the original e and I add eds. I do not keep two e's like type, typed, listen, listened, push, pushed. Number 2 says, if a one-syllable verb ends with a consonant, vowel, consonant. If a one-syllable verb is a verb is made of one part and it has one vowel sound, short vowel sound at the end, short, pay attention, short vowel sound with a consonant, vowel, consonant. And when I add the ed, I stress on the last consonant letter, then I have to double the consonant letter, then add ed, like stop, stopped. I'm stressing on the P, so I have to double the P and add ed. Plan, planned. Rub, rubbed. Number 3, if a two-syllable verb ends with a consonant, vowel, consonant, maybe the verb is made up of more than one syllable, but it has a short vowel sound at the end with a consonant, vowel, consonant, but we do not stress on it. Pay attention here. We do not stress on it, then I should not double it. Like travel, traveled. I'm not stressing on the L. I'm not saying it traveled. No, I'm saying it traveled. So I'm not stressing on it. I do not double it. Listen, listened. Cancel, cancelled. So here there is no stressing, so I do not double the last consonant. Number 4, if a two-syllable verb ends with a consonant, vowel, consonant. Sometimes you might find the verb long and it's made of more than one sound, more than one syllable. But at the end, I'm stressing on the last consonant letter. Then I have to double the consonant here. Like prefer, preferred. R. I'm stressing on the R. Refer, referred. Number 5. If a verb ends with a consonant and a Y. Now I come to the point that we didn't explain it in the previous slide. When the verb ends with a Y and the Y is preceded with a consonant letter. It means if I have a consonant letter before the Y, then I have to cross out the Y, replace it with I, then add ed, like notify, notified, supply, supplied. Number 6, if a verb ends with a vowel and a Y, if I have at the end Y letter and before the Y I have a vowel letter, then I have to keep the Y and then I add ed, like play, played, betray, betrayed. So these are the rules that I have to follow to add ed to the verbs. Now let's have a look at this the following list of past tense verbs. Let's see which verbs are regular and which are irregular. Taught. The base form of taught is teach. So here the verb changed completely. We didn't add ed. So it's not a regular verb since we didn't add ed. So it's not a regular verb, it's irregular. Played, here I find ed at the end, then it is regular. Carried, it's a regular verb because I have ed. Gave, there's no ed, then it's not a regular, it's irregular. Became, it doesn't have ed, then it is irregular. Kicked, it has ed, then it is regular verb. Printed, it has a ed at the end, then it's a regular verb. Did, it doesn't have ed, then it is irregular verb. So, what about the irregular verbs? The irregular verbs are the verbs that do not end with ed. The verbs that do not end with ed are called irregular. So what do we do to them? Some irregular verbs have a vowel change in the past tense. We just change a vowel letter. Examples. Like become, became. I just change the vowel letter. Give, gave. Drive, drove. Forget, forgot. Okay, guys, don't worry about the irregular verbs. I'm going to give you a list of irregular verbs that you must memorize, okay? Other irregular verbs have different kind of a change. They change completely, okay? Example, teach, taught, bring, brought, leave, left, hear, heard, buy, bought. So Celia bought a new computer last weekend, for example. So you see, all the verbs here change completely. And some irregular verbs do not change at all. They stay the same. Examples: hit, hit, put, put, set, set. Example, the children set the table every Sunday. This is in the present. They set it every Sunday. Now let's change it into the past. The children set the table last night. So the verb stays the same. Okay guys, now time to practice. Let's practice a little bit. Let's see how to form the verbs in the affirmative form. Put the verbs between brackets into the correct form of simple past tense, which means the positive or the affirmative form. Last year I spent my holiday in Ireland. So spend is the verb in the base form. I want to make it in the past. So spend becomes spent in the past. I spent my holiday in Ireland. It be great. Now we come to the verb to be. The verb to be is one of the irregular verbs, and it changes based on the subject. If the subject is singular, then it is was. It takes was. But if the subject is a plural, we mean more than one, it becomes were. So the verb to be in the past is was and were. It is singular, so it was great. I travel around the city by car with two friends. So travel is a regular verb, so it must take ed. I traveled around the city by car with two friends, and we visit. Visit is also a regular verb, so we say I and we visited lots of interesting places. In the evenings, we usually go to a cafe. Go is one of the irregular verbs. Go becomes went in the past, so we say we usually went to cafe. We, with the verb to be now, very lucky with the weather. Since we is a plural, so it must take were. We were lucky with the weather. It did not rain a lot. We see some beautiful rainbows. See is one of the irregular verbs. It becomes saw. We saw some beautiful rainbows. The last one, I have an amazing holiday. Have is one of the irregular verbs. It becomes had in the past. Now we move to the third point in our lecture, which is the negative form. What do we mean by negative form? When we say negative, we mean not. It didn't happen. Not. And in the past, to express the action in the past, in the negative form in the past, we have to use did not or didn't. One of them, did not or didn't. Okay? After did not or didn't, I have to put the verb in its base form. So first of all, I use did not or didn't, then I put the verb without adding or changing anything in it. Let's take an example. I went to work yesterday. This is the affirmative form. I went to work. What is the verb? The verb is went. Went is in the past. Now let's make it negative. Negative. I did not, and the base form of went is go, so we say I did not go to work yesterday, so now it is in the negative. That's it, simply. When I have an action verb, then I have to use did not or didn't before the verb, and then I put the verb in its base form. But what if I have a verb to be, was or were? The verb be is special. What do? You never use did not or didn't with the verb to be. No, we never use did not or didn't. Instead, we just say was not or were not. Was not or were not. Example, I was not at the show. So you see, we do not say I did not was at the show. No, we say I was not at the show. Now, let's practice these sentences. Let's change the following sentences from affirmative to negative. To negative now. I drank coffee in the morning. Where is the action verb? Drank. Okay. And we have to use did not. I did not. What's the base form of the verb drank? It is drink. I did not drink coffee in the morning. I did not or I didn't drink coffee in the morning. Simply. 2. She was at the bank yesterday. Was is a verb to be. And what did we say about the verb to be? We said that we just add not after the verb to be because the verb to be doesn't like to sit beside didn't. So she was not at the bank yesterday, or she wasn't. 3. Jamie ate all the biscuits last night. Where is the action verb? Ate. Here I have action verb, not verb to be. So we say Jamie didn't. What is the base form of ate? Eat. Jamie didn't eat all the biscuits last night. So this is how we change the sentences from affirmative to negative. Now the last point in our lecture is the interrogative form. What do we mean by interrogative? Interrogative, we mean questions. I want to form the questions but in the past. There are different ways to form the questions in the simple past tense. What are these ways? Let's see. First, I have the yes-no question. For the yes-no question, I use did. I start with did. Then I put the subject. Then I put the verb in its base form and then the rest of the sentence. Example. Did you go to work yesterday? So you see, here I start with did. Then the subject, you. Then the verb go in its base form. I didn't say did you went. No, we say did you go. Okay? Here the answer would be yes I went, no I didn't go, for example. Here that's why we say it's a yes no question. The answer should be yes or no. Another example, did you come yesterday? Did you come yesterday? Did, then the subject, then the verb in its base form. Okay, and a question mark at the end, it's very important. So this is how we form the yes no questions. What if I have the verb to be in the yes-no question? I start with the verb to be, then the subject, then the rest of the sentence. Example. Were you at work yesterday? We don't say, did you were at work yesterday? No. Were you at work yesterday? Was she at the library yesterday? So you see, I just moved the verb to be to the beginning of the sentence, and then I put the subject with the rest of the sentence. Don't forget the question mark at the end. Now, WH word questions. What if I have a question that wants to start with the WH word like where, when, why, what, who? What must I do? Simply, I start with the WH word, then I put did, then I put the verb in its base form, the subject, then the verb in its base form. Okay? So again, I repeat, if I want to use a WH word in the question, I start with the WH word, then did, then the subject, then the verb in its base form. Example. Where did you go yesterday? Question mark. When did you come yesterday? Question mark. Okay, time to practice also. Change the following sentences from affirmative to interrogative. Yalla, now let's change the sentences to questions. Okay, I drank coffee in the morning. I can either make it yes no question or a WH word question. Let's make it first yes no. Yes no, I must start with did. Did, then the subject, did I, then the verb in its base form. The base form of drank is a drink. So did I drink coffee yes in the morning? Or if I want to use a WH word like when did I drink coffee? When did I drink coffee? 2. She was at the bank yesterday. She was at the bank yesterday. Notice here that I have a verb to be, so I simply put the verb to be at the beginning. Was she at the bank yesterday? Was she at the bank yesterday? If you want to use a WH word, where Where was she yesterday? Where was she yesterday? Simply. Number 3, Jamie ate all the biscuits last night. Let's make first a yes no question. Did Jamie eat all the biscuits last night? Did, then the subject, then the verb in its base form. Did Jamie eat all the biscuits last night? Okay. Or let's use a WH word. What did Jamie eat last night? What did Jamie eat last night? So guys, I hope now that the video is very beneficial for you and it would help you more understand the simple past tense. It's time to practice the exercises in your worksheet. Okay, stay safe and bye bye.